Mr. Trudeau called an election that's costing us $600 million rather than keeping the Delta variant from spreading, rather than actually working together. So the federal Prime Minister needs to partner with the provinces, needs to deliver on vaccines, on rapid tests, needs to keep variants out of Canada. Mr. Trudeau has failed to do all that. It's made the job more difficult for all premiers. I will be there not to fight with them, but to provide leadership, and I would never call an election in the middle of a health crisis. I'm not sure why Mr. Trudeau did.
And CTV's Vanessa Lee is travelling with the Conservatives today. She joins us now from St. John, New Brunswick. Vanessa, it's good to see you this afternoon. So Erin O'Toole blaming Justin Trudeau for the situation in Alberta. What do you make of this strategy where he's shifting the onus on Justin Trudeau and not Jason Kenney?
Well, this is the thing, Akshay. We asked Erin O'Toole, so a room full of journalists asked Erin O'Toole repeatedly today what he thinks of the situation in Alberta, how the Alberta situation was handled, given that he has at various stages during the pandemic praised Jason Kenney's handling the pandemic, and he avoided the question. So he sidestepped every single time. He was asked at least perhaps 8 to 10 times during his media availability about the situation in Alberta, and he didn't even really address it. He didn't really talk about what Albertans are going through. He did not address it at all. He just stuck to his talking points about how Justin Trudeau has called an election during the pandemic and that Canadians should not reward him.
Yeah, it seems to be this is the strategy, but he's also putting that big number to the elections, saying that he's spending $600 million on these elections versus focusing on the pandemic. That seems to be the strategy in the past few days, Vanessa. But let me also ask you this. O'Toole was also asked about vote splitting between the Conservatives and the PPC, who are gaining in the polls. What did he have to say on that front?
Well, that's right. As you mentioned, the PPC is gaining ground. And so a lot of political analysts are watching right now to see exactly what happens. Will that split the vote to the right? And will that be perhaps in Justin Trudeau's favor? And so he was asked about his concerns, if he is concerned about the PPC splitting the vote, and he did not answer that question either. He just again stuck to his talking points about how we're in this election, in a pandemic election, because of Justin Trudeau, how much it's costing, and so. Again, he did not answer the question, but certainly that is something that a lot of political analysts are pondering right now, and certainly his party must be thinking about as well.
Let me also ask you about the strategy of bringing in former prime ministers into the election campaign. The Liberal leader has done it, the Conservative leader has done it, and also at a time when he said this is not your grandfather's Conservative Party, but we had Mr. Mulroney there in that election campaign rally. How do you think this is really going to help Erin O'Toole?
Well, you just said it. It was interesting yesterday. The timing of it was interesting because yesterday morning, he was in Saguenay, north of Quebec City, trying to woo Quebec voters. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to rebrand the party a bit. He's basically trying to say, we are not your father's Conservatives. He's really trying to appeal to people who may not have voted Conservatives before, saying that there might have been things that you've heard about the party that may be outdated, that kind of thing. And then last night, in a bit of a surprise guest appearance, we see Brian Mulroney, and certainly that really got the crowd going in the room, talking about I guess the good old days, when Brian Mulroney was Prime Minister. But at this point, it's the ground game here. So he went from Quebec yesterday, so North Quebec City, to the Eastern Townships, which is east of Montreal. Now he's in St. John, New Brunswick, and he will be at a rally outside of Halifax later today, Akshay.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that. The campaign trail always full of surprises. Vanessa Lee in St. John, New Brunswick. Thanks for this, Vanessa.
You're welcome.